Don't those pearl onions look beautiful? If I'm going to cut something that small, I'm going to need a paring knife. And when I want to chop or trim a small vegetable like one of these onions, I have to use a knife designed for that purpose alone. And that's where paring knives come in. And there are 3 basic types of paring knives. Each one of them does a specific job better than the other one. We have a standard parer that really looks like a small chef's knife. That's great for small chopping and mincing. We have a beak nose parer or a peeling parer, and that does just what it says. It peels better than the others. And we have this small utility parer, and this utility parer is very flexible in the front of the blade and very stiff near the bolster, and that's for doing small butchering work like boning out a small chicken wing or taking the wishbone out of a large roast before you cook it. Now, when I want to trim one of these pearl onions, I take my peeling parer and I rotate the onion and I choke up on the parer like so, and I take off both the root and the flower end, and using this curved blade, I'm able to peel off that outermost layer of paper or skin. But of course, I can damage some of those other little layers of the onion. So one of the tricks that I use is by soaking my onions in a little bit of hot boiling water. All I have to do is cut away that stem end, and I can literally squeeze out my whole onion and leave that beautiful fluted flower tip on, which is so pretty for a lot of presentation dishes. Now, this peeling parer is also great for taking the skin off a tomato to make a tomato rose or some type of garnish. And all I do is I rotate my tomato and my peeler, taking off an equal amount of skin as far as width is concerned, much in the same way I used to watch my grandfather peel apples or oranges on the front porch of the house growing up. And I can just put that aside and use that for my stock pot. And I have this beautiful long piece of skin that I can just wrap around, and you can tuck that with a toothpick if you like, or put another layer of tomato skin in there and have a beautiful tomato rose to garnish a piece of poached salmon. Now, the other thing that this beak nose parer does is it takes the tops off of tomatoes very nicely, anything rounded because of its shape. But when I want to slice one of these beautiful little tomatoes, the best thing that I can do is use my small utility parer. And all I do here is much the same way I would use the tip of a chef's knife. But of course, because this knife is so small, it gives me a tremendous amount of control. So with really very little practice at all, I can cut 3 very like-sized pieces of tomato. Now that's what makes this knife so wonderful, is that control. Because, just like with this zucchini, I can cut nice discs out of it that are all the same size and same width, and I can do scales of zucchini or cucumber for a piece of fish. I can also cut vegetables for sautéing so that they maintain the same shape, like this piece of zucchini and this potato. I can do a small barrel cut with this parer. All I do is cut the ends off of it and make some turned cuts here. I'm starting deep and going shallow as I turn the potato. And I have this beautiful barrel-sided potato. And I can do the same thing here with this other vegetable, this zucchini piece here. When you're cutting the zucchini in this fashion, be sure to hold it loosely, as you would an egg. Making the same cut so that when I sauté them, they have the same shape, but they're different vegetables. Now, mushrooms are very difficult to cut with a very large knife for a lot of people because they're an ungainly size. And unless I'm just placing them down the counter and whacking them with a big chef's knife, I want to use a small paring knife like this to cut some skin off there that may be damaged, or to make small mince out of the mushrooms. I can take some small slices out of them, and much in the same way that we were doing little batons before, I can do some small cuts of the mushroom, and the only way that I can do that is with a small knife like this parer. Now, another thing that you have to be careful of when you're trimming mushrooms is with these portobellos. I'm going to cut this in half so you can see this. These portobello mushrooms have that thin web-like shroud on the inside. And those little web-like shrouds are filled with little dark mushroom spores that can discolor your food when you cook with it. So a great use for a paring knife is being able to hold the mushroom in one hand, choke up on that paring knife, and just cut away that web-like shrouding. And I'm not going into the mushroom too deep. I want to keep the stem on it, and I can just cut around my stem here and discard that web-like shrouding. Come back again and pick up any of that I may have missed the first time. And there we have a beautiful trimmed portobello mushroom suitable for the grill or just slice up and saute. Now, the other thing that this knife is great for is for cutting odd-shaped things, like this mango. Here, I've got a seed that runs vertical inside. I just let my knife fall to one side of it, cut away a side of the fruit, and then what I want to do is I want to make some incisions that don't go all the way through to the skin so I can get some nice mango dice out of this piece of fruit. I just come across it the other way, trying very hard not to poke through to the other side. Let's see how I did. Boom. And then all I do is let some beautiful pieces of diced mango fall onto my cutting board. And there I can put those into jams or relishes or to fruit salads, whatever that I would like. There I've got my diced mango. Now, the other thing that this knife is great for is for cleaning shrimp. Nothing else allows me the control just to go 1/4 of an inch inside so that I can remove any objectionable filling that I have down the back of the shrimp, that vein that sometimes is discolored. The other thing that I can do is I can also tighten my shrimp up like that, press the edges together, and laying it flat against my cutting board or plate, I can cut my shrimp in half. And no other knife can I do that with except this pair. And our utility parer is ideal for taking the wishbone out of birds. The reason that we want to do that is when we're carving the bird and slicing it on the bone, sometimes the wishbone gets in the way. By removing it first, we avoid that problem. And you can see the wishbone right in there. All we want to do is place our knife in and follow it down. And if I go right in here, out comes those wishbones, and we can let our roast go ahead and cook. Now, pears are also good for doing decor work. If I'm doing a small tomato salad like this, and I have a little bit of tomato sauce, and I'm going to decorate it with a little bit of sour cream or clotted cream, all I have to do is take the tip of my knife and just pull it through, and I have those beautiful hearts.